Martin Woods, could you talk a little bit basically about your experience in insurance restoration?
I've been in the business for about 22 years, I guess. We've done everything from water damage to fire, every kind of property damage you can imagine we've done. Drying, we've opened several offices. I've been a trainer, an estimator, a manager, a salesman, business development. So yeah, I've done it all.
What got you into this in the first place?
We had always been interested, my brothers and I, have been always interested in the construction business in general, but we weren't very interested in remodeling and the three bid process. We just weren't very interested in that. We wanted something that would be, it wouldn't be dependent on the economy. I got into it in the late 80s when the economy wasn't very good. So that was a big part of it. We were interested in it was almost a more interesting aspect of construction. Regular construction bored us, but this seemed more exciting. Fires, floods, storms.
Okay. What has, looking back over your experience, what has been the most interesting job you've had?
Well, we did a tremendously big job, one tremendously big job. It was upwards of over $50 million. And I like to call that the job that made us and the job that almost killed us. It was just a couple of years ago, and it was all the experience that my brothers and I had over the years that allowed us to do this job. It almost killed us because the insurance company took 2 years to pay $12 million. So we was it a fire? No, it was a condo complex. 96 buildings got their roofs blown off. Well, actually, blown off is probably wrong word. They lifted up and sat back down. So at first, they didn't realize what the issue was. They thought it was okay, but then water was pouring in, so we ended up having to replace those. What I like to tell people about that job is we were doing 2 roofs a week. So if you were in there, if you were one of the last people on the list, it would have taken us a year to get to your roof. 2 a week, so they didn't want to hear it, but we actually did it. We actually did it by virtue of a raffle. We put all the buildings because everybody wanted theirs done first. And so we actually pulled them out of the hat. This is interesting. We did it that way, and we had a list, and then we gave it to the board, the condo board, and they said back to us, it was all different. There was some politics there. So we tried to do it fairly, but it turned out not to be fair. But that was we did that whole job in 18 months, and it was a tremendously big drying job, tremendously big repair job. We had everything you could possibly imagine. We had code upgrades and asbestos and lead paint and mold. We had just everything you could imagine. And plus, we did it in a time where you couldn't get any work. You couldn't get any workers because they were all so busy on this storm. I mean, you couldn't find a place to sleep. You couldn't get your workers. You had nowhere to sleep. You couldn't get equipment. Couldn't get the laborers, so it was very interesting, very challenging, and we're very proud of that.
How have you seen the industry change in your career?
Well, when I first started, I don't want to date myself too much, but when I first started, there was less program work. They didn't have a lot of preferred program work then. They were in their infancy, in fact. Most of our estimates were you'd go out, you get a job, you go out with the adjuster, you'd talk about it, you'd sit down and negotiate it, and you'd come up with a price you both could live with, then you go and do it. Now it's very much computerized, there's set prices, and the adjusters used to be much more experienced. They used to know our business. I shouldn't say that. They used to know construction. Now they know what the computer says. If there's one thing I hate to hear them say, well, this is what Xactimate says. I'm not really that interested in what Xactimate says. I'm interested in what the real price is. So it's changed a lot, I think, because of the computer and the internet, and it continues to change daily. The insurance companies they're really learning how to manipulate the costs, and I think they ultimately think it's a good thing. I think it's going to ultimately be a bad thing for them, because when guys like me who don't want to do program work have to go out, and we've been forced to find other avenues of work. So we've kind of almost bypassed the insurance company. We'll get the claims before they even know about them. So it's actually, this movement toward control and programs has actually improved us as a company. Well, when I had a company, I sold the company.
You've been involved in NIR since for ages, maybe since its start.
I missed the first one. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. What do you think is the value of this organization to the industry?
The value to me personally was just tremendous. I didn't know that most of this existed. I didn't know there were other people like me. But to the industry, it brings people together. It gets them just very, very current information, and on all different topics within our industry that you just don't get anywhere else. From production issues to estimating issues to legal issues, stuff you never even think about. When I leave this every year for 21 years, every time I leave here, my head is just swimming with new information and stuff that I want to go back and implement immediately into my company. And Walter, the president and founder, always warns people. He says, "You're going to get so much information. Don't run back and try to implement it all at once. Write them down. Think about them, because you just get overwhelmed." 20 years later, I'm still overwhelmed with new information every time I come here. So I tell people, even if you just get one good idea, I mean, it's more than worth it, but I always get 100 good ideas. So, but it's been tremendous for the industry. I think it's really brought them up. A ton of people have come through here. A lot of people have come through here, made a fortune, and they've retired or moved on, but a lot of people have done very, very well through this organization. One other thing, the people here, they're just so willing to help each other. It blew my mind when these people would invite me to their office to look at their books. Not that everybody would do that. Share their marketing ideas with me, and then they'd call me. We were always talking on the phone and trading ideas and stopping in and seeing each other when they're in the area. But it just I think the NIR facilitates this sharing and this kind of openness